You are listening to Titletown Takes, your home for the latest and greatest in all things college and Boston sports.
Face-off control by the Bruins. Basketball with a shot to block it. They score! To rally!
Listen to hosts Ian Beauchesne, Connor Powell, and Cameron Urbowicz for plenty of fun, vibes, and most importantly, hot takes.
I don't know.
I am really interested to hear this one.
I wonder what he's going to say.
He's not picking the Bruins.
I wonder what
I'm
he's
thinking
gonna
about
say.
not picking the Bruins.
He's going to take Tampa or Washington.
I'm going with the Avs.
Okay.
He takes the easy way out of it and names the
In the
Western
West,
Conference
yeah.
team first.
Make a
Avs
decision, Wickies. Get it out of the way.
The
5, 4, 3,
Lightning.
2, 1 pick. Oh,
Lightning!
On today's show, we welcome the voice of Umass Lowell Riverhawk hockey and Merrimack college football, Pete Mundy, to talk his favorite games as PA announcer, his best stories throughout his illustrious career, and how he got to where he is today. The fellas bring you their thoughts on the NHL comeback plan, the Brady Woods Mickelson golf match, Cam's Corner, and finally, the most anticipated bag of fun question of the quarantine.
It's time for the bag of fun. Everybody ready for the bag of fun? Question of the quarantine. Mr. Beauchesne, you got it today, boy.
To listen, be sure to look us up on your favorite listening platform, like Spotify or Apple Music, and follow us on Twitter at Titletown_takes.
all right. Titletown Takes back on the air, episode number 26. Hope everyone's doing all right out there. Hope everyone had a great Memorial Day weekend. To anyone watching who has served this country, we do want to take a moment and thank you for your service and dedication to protecting our lives here at home and overseas. For anybody that's been in any branch of the service, again, big tip of the cap goes to you. And we wouldn't be where we are in this country without dedicated individuals such as yourselves. So I forgot to throw that in there on Sunday, but I did want to open up with today's episode and thank anybody that has served this country in any way, shape, or form. With that being said, Ian Beauchesne here, as always, joined alongside by my fabulous co-hosts, Connor Powell and Cameron Urbowicz. I got a feeling there's a good mood going around in the group here today with some of the news that we're going to be talking about. So let's check in with the fellas and see how we're doing. Let's check in with the Wick man, Cam Urbowicz, and see how life is down in good old Chelmsford. Cam, how we doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. It's nice to be back with you fellas again. It was a beautiful Memorial Day. At least Memorial Day weekend on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday was pretty good. Monday was But it was all in all a great weekend. Got to hang out with a couple of dogs. That was nice. My neighbor's dog came over, hung out. That was cool. And it was nice to have a little bit of just a reprieve to watch some crappy golf with Tiger Woods included. But weekend was pretty good, and I'm feeling great.
Check in with the third member of our group, Connor Powell and Hyde Park. How we doing, buddy?
What's up, boys? It's great to be here again. You know, the podcast's been getting us through it. We've said it kind of the whole quarantine here, but it's good to be back. It's good to be recording. We got some positive news finally today. So we got some juicy stuff to bring to you guys, and it's just I love seeing your guys' faces once again. So let's get into it. Let's not waste any more time here.
Yeah, let's not waste any time. Before we get to the hot topic here for all of us, in case you couldn't tell, for those of you tuned in on YouTube land, we're all sporting the Spoke B. Connor's
different versions.
rocking the real old school. Cam's rocking the early 2000s, and I'm rocking the current logo. Hockey's coming back, fellas.
Hopefully.
Well, the NHL Tuesday announced its plans for the return to play. This is followed up from Monday. Actually, they announced their phase 2 of returning to play, with teams being able to open up their own facilities to allow small groups of a max 6 people on the ice or in a workout facility at a time, including coaches, strength and conditioning coaches, I should say. No actual coaches are allowed. So Bruce Cassidy can't go in and check in with the guys at Warrior if they're there for a workout or a skate or something like that. It's just players and skating coaches, strength and conditioning coaches, and stuff like that. But we're getting there. But before we get to that, I want to drop who we got today for our interview. Pete Mundy, the public address announcer for Umass Lowell Riverhawk hockey and Merrimack College Warrior football, will be joining us here in a little while, so be sure to stick around. Some great stories coming his way, including a very, very heartwarming story about a terminally ill young boy who got the chance to experience a once-in-a-lifetime moment and sing the national anthem at a Natick High baseball game, I believe it was, with Renee Rancourt, the former anthem singer for the Boston Bruins, who spent 40 years on Causeway Street singing the anthem there. So stay tuned for that story and a lot other good stuff coming out of that interview when we get to that. But anyway, fellas, let's jump right into it with the news today. Commissioner Gary Bettman held a press conference on Tuesday. I know you guys got to watch it. I did not. I was up picking up my my first set of wheels.
Whoop, whoop. Hell yeah.
Myself a nice Chevy Silverado.
No big deal.
So got a nice pickup truck now, which is great. You know, big guy needs a big ride. So,
Damn straight.
yeah. But anyways, the NHL on Tuesday announced its plans to return with a 24-team playoff format.
Yeah.
24 teams. We'll get into a little bit more of the details in a moment. But, yeah, the NHL paused the regular season on March 12th due to the concerns with the coronavirus, resulting in the final 189 games of the regular season to be scrapped. So that came out today. Commissioner Gary Bettman said the NHL
Good thing we all
regular
got to go before the tickets went null and void, eh?
Yep.
Yeah.
No playoff games, though.
Ian, you just made it in time.
Just
True.
made it. So what? I made it by what? Like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
About that.
Not even.
Got a live suck it cam in there.
Got a live suck it cam. Absolutely.
Insert
great.
The player who scored that goal saying that right here.
Suck it, Cam.
Fact.
So, final 189 games
February
of the regular season.
February 27th, Ian, was your game.
Yep.
So that was 6 games before it all shut down.
So, the 12 qualifying teams from the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference qualified via points percentage as of March 12th when the season stopped. Commissioner Gary Bettman today in his Tuesday in his press conference said, "I want to make clear that the health and safety of our players, coaches, essential support staff, and our communities are paramount." He went on to say, "While nothing is without risk, ensuring health and safety has been central to all of our planning so far and will remain so." So that's great to see that, you know, Commissioner Bettman accepts the fact, as along with everybody else, that, you know, the safety of the players and anybody involved in game productions, their health is the main concern. So I'll throw it over to you guys because, as I said, I wasn't able to watch the press conference, but I'll throw it to you guys. We'll throw it to Cam first, and then you can throw it to you, Connor, and we can kind of just jump from there, and then we'll ramble on. And then I do want to talk about some of the playoff matchups that are set as of right now. Some possible upsets that we've already maybe discussed off air, and go from there. With that being said, Cameron, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much, Ian. So, as Ian already stated, I'm just going to take it from the text I sent you guys because I think I summed it up pretty nicely all in there. Except the draft lottery. I don't get that. Maybe someone else.
I don't think any of us are going to be able to.
We'll cover that
explain
eventually.
That well.
So basically, as Ian said, the season is over, null and void, or maybe not null and void, but just finished out, over. The hub cities that are being considered currently at this moment in time are Chicago, Columbus, Dallas, Edmonton, Los Angeles, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Toronto, Vancouver, and Las Vegas. A lot of variety there. It'll be interesting to see what they pick. I'd consider Minnesota a good choice because, they have a ton of ice rinks up there. Same thing with Toronto would probably be decent. Maybe they'll want to try to keep it in one country because of the restrictions between traveling, but they've already said that should not be a problem, but, things can change as things move along here.
Well, on that note, Cam, just real quick, President Trump and Prime Minister Trudeau said that they had plans to keep the U.S.-Canada border closed through, I believe, June 12th was the target date on that. As of right now. It could change, but again, like you said, who knows what the situations will be when teams start to bring guys back. Obviously, I guess maybe with NHL players, it'll be different because they're considered. It's different than just everyday people trying to cross over the border to go from the U.S. to Canada or vice versa. It's not just international domestic travel, I guess, if you want to call it that, for people going on vacations and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see. So,
moving on, the top 4 teams in each conference. So Boston, Washington, my ESPN app keeps glitching
Tampa
out.
and Philly.
Tampa and Philly will play in a round-robin tournament, and then in the West it would be
St. Louis,
Dallas, Vegas, and Colorado. So those 4 teams will play in a round-robin style tournament. Those games will be played under regular season overtime rules, in which shootout and overtime or 3-on-3 overtime will apply. But this is not the case for the other playoff matchups where regular overtime playoff rules will be applied, 20 minutes per side, and sudden death rules. If it comes down to a tie in the round-robin format, the tiebreaker will be points percentage. So if the Bruins tie for first, they will get first place. And then as contingencies move on down, they will automatically get the spot if they tie for a spot.
So hold on. In order to tie, right, you're going to think they're going to win what? 2 games, right? That's it? And hope?
Probably,
yeah.
Yep.
But
it'll probably really only come down to that Tampa and Washington matchup, right? Because realistically, I see Tampa and Washington both beating Philly. I think Philly's going to end up stuck in that 4th spot.
I agree.
I don't know.
It's tough. You don't know what you're going to get from these teams. You haven't seen anyone
play in 2 months.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The first and second round will be 5 or 7 games that hasn't been determined yet. I'm assuming that means the first round after the prelim rounds?
Yes.
I assume that's what he means?
Yep.
But the conference finals and Stanley Cup finals will be best of 7 regardless of how things go. And Gary Bettman said in the press conference that he believes they can get this all done in about a month. So we'll see how that goes. Connor, any thoughts?
Very well done, Cameron. I had a whole list of stuff, and not
Feel free to add something if I missed it.
Yeah, I got a couple things to add here.
Well, hold on here. I can't just before you go, Connor. I'm looking here on the NHL website. It says the Eastern Conference qualifying round will have 4 best-of-5 series. So unless
that's the qualifying round. So that's
that's not us.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's while the 1 through 4 does the round robin.
Okay.
So that's not officially the playoffs per se. That's
to determine what actual 8 teams from the East and West.
Correct.
Are going to be.
Yes.
Correct. So just to go off, there's going to be 2 main hub cities, right? Cameron listed those. One of them is designated for Eastern Conference teams. One of them is designated for Western Conference teams. Whether both those hub cities are in the western part of the United States or the eastern part of the United States hasn't been discussed yet because they just haven't picked things yet. But they'll have 2 cities for both sides. And then the NHL is going to provide hotels, travel to and from the rink, all testing, all that stuff is going to be provided. And they're going to go in phases, right? Just kind of like the rest of the world is going and returning back to somewhat of a normal life. They expect in early June, they'll expect to be in that phase 2. They just announced that phase 1 is coming shortly, but early June expects that phase 2 to start. which is what you were saying, Ian. 6 players getting to the rink, doing their own stuff without coaches or anything. They said phase 3 will be no earlier than July 1st. So you're going to have basically at the earliest a month of that phase 2 of 6 players on the
the
ice at the same
workouts
time.
and stuff. Yeah.
Yep. And then Bettman also said phase 4 teams will go to those specific hub cities, and with an okay from medical professionals, all this stuff will start in phase 4, expected to be at the end of the summer into early fall is when that is expected to drop. So whether or not it's, middle of August or beginning of August, nobody knows yet because we don't know what the world's going to look like at that point.
Also, I got a blockbuster for y'all.
Yep.
On Tim and Sid in Canada today, they had Bettman on, and he had said one of the options that we're considering is the first game of next season will be the Winter Classic.
That'd be sick.
Oh.
That would be sick because it's supposed to be in Minnesota.
That would be
the
really
Wild
great.
and the Blues are playing that.
He said we're considering every option, but that's one of them on the table.
That would be
Target
That's the
Field.
only one he went in detail on, though.
I think it is Target Field.
Yeah.
And then quickly, I'm not going to go into that much detail because I just don't know that much about it. But the draft lottery is so the 7 clubs that didn't resume play are automatically in the draft lottery, right? And then there's going to be basically like filler slots for the rest of the teams who aren't going to make it, but they're going to do the ball drawing ceremony before the qualifying round. So they're just going to be empty spaces. So if all 3 of the balls land in one of the 7 clubs that didn't make the playoffs, then they don't need to go to phase 2. But if it lands in one of the teams that are in the qualifying round that are eventually going to be eliminated, then they'll go to phase 2, and then there's a whole lot of other stuff. That's about all I know. But I know if, let's say, Ottawa gets the first pick, then they don't need to go to phase 2 because Ottawa was already one of those clubs that was eliminated. So there's your draft lottery expertise from my perspective. Cam, that sounds right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay.
And if phase 1 goes like absolutely 100% correctly, there'll be no phase 2 for the lottery.
Right, exactly. Correct.
That's what he said.
Yep.
So I'm looking here again, going through the press release on NHL.com. Bettman said we were talking to the Canadian government about the possibility of the hub cities there because, like Cam said, Edmonton, Toronto, and Vancouver are all on those lists. But right now, the edict in Canada requires those entering the country to be quarantined for 14 days. So he said, we're talking to the Canadian government about that. But if we get done with the training camp aspect of things and we want to go to a Canadian city, and to do that, we have to quarantine for another 14 days, then that just isn't going to work out.
Yeah, exactly.
Another interesting tidbit I did see on here, fellas, was Bettman did come out and said the conference finals and the Stanley Cup finals, he said that there is a slim possibility the final 3 series can be played in the home arenas of teams that reach those rounds. He said, but that would require a substantial change in the outlook of the pandemic. And it most likely would mean all games played in hub cities would be without fans in attendance, which I think at this point we've all accepted the fact that
what we're expecting.
We're not going to get any fans here until at least the fall because the NFL has come out and said that they want to go ahead with a plan and bring fans into the stands for the fall.
Yeah, so, to go off that Bettman point too, Ian, is he brought that up, but he said in his opinion, his mind, he thinks that the Cup Finals will be played in one of the hub cities without fans. That's what he thinks.
I'm fine with that. I don't care where the Cup Final or the Eastern Conference Finals are being played, as long as we're going to sit on the couch and watch hockey and see how it goes down. Yeah, because even then, at that point, right, Connor, we could all go to your house, sit at your gazebo outside, be socially distanced, and watch playoff hockey.
I may be buying a projector too, so
that's sick.
Yeah. Yep. So it'll be good.
So Bettman wrapped up his press release on NHL.com and said, We believe we have constructed an overall plan that includes all teams that, as a practical matter, might have had a chance for qualifying for the playoffs when the season was paused. And this plan will produce a worthy Stanley Cup champion who will have run the postseason gauntlet that is unique to the NHL. So just taking a look at the standings, fellas, right? We'll look at it, and then we'll go through the teams that didn't qualify for the playoffs. In the Eastern Conference, the Buffalo Sabres, New Jersey Devils, Ottawa Senators, and Detroit Red Wings. While out in the Western Conference, it's the California Gauntlet. The Anaheim Ducks, LA Kings, and San Jose Sharks all missed the playoffs.
The Buffalo Sabres, according to also Sportsnet stats, the Buffalo Sabres have become the 5th team in NHL history to go 9 consecutive seasons without a playoff appearance.
Woof.
It's pretty brutal.
Thoughts and prayers to any fans up in Buffalo who have to endure this. I mean, they were only 2 points behind the Canadiens for a playoff spot. However, the Canadiens went 31-9 in the 71 games that they played.
With 19 regulation wins.
While the Sabres went 30-31-8 in the 68 games that they played for a total of 69 points.
Boys, I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a team that sneaked in here through the qualifying round that you could see going on a deep run here? I mean, for me, I think a team like the Rangers.
I was just going to say the Rangers.
Could be hot. The Panthers.
Chicago.
Florida, yep. I'm looking out in the West. I'd keep my eye on Arizona.
Yeah,
No.
who knows? And that's the thing is, who
They
freaking
traded
knows?
for Taylor Hall and immediately went into the toilet.
Okay.
Taylor Hall.
Then what about a team like Minnesota?
No.
With your boy Ryan Donato.
Boo.
I may like Ryan Donato, but I can admit that his team is not very good.
All right, besides the Bruins, fellas, who's one team that is hurt the most by all this?
Hurt the most? It's tough. I think the Bruins by far are the worst. I mean, they won the President's Trophy. We're kind of on their way. Hurt the most? I look at a team – I mean, it's obvious to just look at the Blues, right? The opposite side, Western Conference, top team. They were rolling. And, and that's the thing with all this is all these teams that were super good, it's basically a new season at this point, completely new. They say the playoffs are a new season after a regular season anyway, but it's a brand new season. No one's played in months. So it's basically like you're getting to a brand new season. Yeah. So, yeah, you're the same teams and that chemistry still will be there, but some players aren't going to be as good as they were. Pasta was on pace to score like 50, 60 goals. Is he going to be the same player? These are all the things that you're going to kind of find. Like, is the perfection line, which I hate calling it a perfection line, but are they going to be as good? Will Jake DeBrusk come back and be, 50 pounds heavier because he's eating Oreos every night? These are the things you got to think of. Like
Oreos and his Spider-Man PJs.
Exactly. Like you really don't know, and it's so unprecedented what's happening. So different players are handling it so differently that nobody knows how certain teams are going to handle it. Like we had Coach Boric on. Some teams are going to win this time. Some NHL teams are going to win this time and come back and be ready to go and steamroll a couple teams before everyone's kind of back on the same playing field.
So with that said, fellas, let's take a look at the qualifying playoff matchups.
Yep.
What'll be the first opening round? Again, we talked about the round robin tournament that's gonna take place for the top 4 seeds. So again, for anybody out there that doesn't know what a round robin is, all 4 teams will play each other once. So the Bruins will play the Lightning, Capitals, and Flyers, not necessarily in that order. And as Cam said, best record or best point percentage out of all that will qualify for the first seed. In the Western Conference, the Blues, Avalanche, Golden Knights, and the Stars are the top 4 seeds out there. As far as the other 8 playoff matchups go, we'll look at the Eastern Conference first. The 5th seed will be the Pittsburgh Penguins. They'll take on the Montreal Canadiens in a best-of-5 series with a 12 seed, the last team to make it in the East. The 6th seed will be the Carolina Hurricanes. They'll take on the New York Rangers, the 11th seed. The 7th seed will be the New York Islanders. They'll take on the Florida Panthers, the 10 seed. And the 8-9 matchup in the East is the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Columbus Blue Jackets. Out West, the Oilers are the 5 seed. They'll take on the Chicago Blackhawks as the 12. The 6th seed will be the Nashville Predators, and the 11th seed, Arizona Coyotes in a best of 5. The Vancouver Canucks take the number 7 spot. They'll take on the Minnesota Wild in a best of 5. And the Calgary Flames will take on the Winnipeg Jets in that 8-9 matchup in a best of 5. Fellas, let's take a look here, and we don't want to spend too much time on this because we got that interview we want to get to, and then we got a few things we want to talk about on the other end.
Other end.
On the other end of the interview. So let's just take a look here. What's a matchup in the East and a matchup in the West that you're really going to keep your eye on as far as a potential upset is concerned here? We'll throw it to Connor first for this one.
I got Florida over the Islanders. That's 7-10, so it's not that big of an upset, but if Bobrovsky never really got to the level he got to the season before this past season. It's so weird calling the season we're currently in this past season. But if Bobrovsky can come back and be as good as he was in the playoffs last year with Columbus, I think,
which is a weird
Florida,
sentence.
Yeah, I know.
Considering
Florida,
he had never been good in the playoffs other than last year.
Florida can score a lot of goals, and they have a lot of guys that are good on the defensive side of the puck. It's just they have to stay consistent. They got a great coach, Joe Quenneville, so he may be able to get his guys ready to win a 5-game series, and you only have to win 3 games. So maybe that's just the difference that it's going to take for a team like Florida to get in. So that's my upset. My main one would be Florida over the New York Islanders.
All right, Wickers, you got one? It doesn't matter. It doesn't necessarily have to be from the Western.
Well, you said both conferences.
But
so
all right, Connor took the East.
Yeah, you take the West.
All right, I'll take the West. I got the Chicago Blackhawks over the Edmonton Oilers. And the reason for that is it's hard to bet against Kane and Taves, and they've got DeBrincat too. It's like you've got a lot of I know Chicago's been up and down this whole season, but if they can manage, if their goalie can just put in a competent performance and their offense can show what they can do, like we know they can, I can see them beating an Edmonton team that outside of McDavid and Draisaitl isn't
Zach
anything
Cassian.
special. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I've got.
All right, I'll give you one from both sides. I like the Blue Jackets over the Maple Leafs just because the Maple Leafs can never make it out of the first round, and although this is only the qualifying round, I'm still going to consider it the first round of the playoffs. So I like the Blue Jackets over the Maple Leafs. Again, I think Tortorella is a better head coach anyways. I don't even know – I couldn't even tell you the name of the coach that they got in Toronto. But I like the matchup with Tortorella.
I used to know.
He knows how to get behind those. He knows how to get those guys fired up. And then maybe I could see the Canadians taking the Penguins to 5 games. I don't know if I can see them pulling it off.
That was my other one. I have the Habs over the Penguins.
Okay.
If Pricer can get hot, I'm not going to bet against.
That would mean the Canadians would be the 8th seed, right? And if the Bruins can,
they'd play the 4 seed, Ian.
Well, they're talking about that.
There's no reseed
That's
at
not
this moment.
confirmed.
Okay.
Yeah, at the moment, but they're talking about it. I would think. I would hope
they would
reseed it. Yeah, because there's no point if Toronto wins, right? And they're the 8, and we're the 1
seed.
And we're the 1. We shouldn't have to play the 8 seed. You know what I mean?
They're not your typical 8.
Yeah.
It should be reseeded. The worst seed plays the top seed. That's
and
what
then
I think.
all the way down. Yeah.
Which, in that case, if they do the reseeding, right, you would have the Canadians be the 8th seed, the Bruins would be the 1.
And that's if we get the 1.
Exactly. We're all assuming here that the Canadians are going to beat the Penguins and that the Bruins have the best points percentage out of that round-robin tournament, whatever. Yep. I'm just looking at a best scenario. I would love to see the Canadians beat the Penguins And then
Me too.
the Bruins take care of business in that round-robin tournament, and we get a Bruins-Canadiens matchup in the first round.
Oh,
Wouldn't hate that, fellas.
which we're signing. We're looking time-wise.
I would hate it. I
potentially
wouldn't want to lose to him.
at like senior week for this stuff. So
Yeah.
Bruins Habs for senior week. Woo!
That, and in the Western Conference, we talked off air, and Cameron called me crazy, but I'm taking the Yotes over the Preds.
I'm with you here, Ian. I just looked at it. I'm with you.
Especially where they're not going to be playing out of Nashville.
Nashville's so meh.
Yeah. Ever since they made that cup run a couple of years ago, they're there. You know that they're fighting for a playoff spot, or, they're in contention for a top 2 seed, whatever, in the Western Conference, fine. But I think the Yotes they're heading towards something. They're building on stuff there. So I like the Yotes to come out of that best-of-5 series against Nashville. Call me crazy, but if it hits, it hits, and I'm going to look like a freaking genius.
Okay. I'm into it. I love it. I think Edmonton will beat Chicago, personally. And I think I'm with you. I disagree with Cameron. Shocker. And I agree with you, Ian.
Yeah, as much as he brought up the whole don't bet against Taves and Cave. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me today, fellas.
That steak?
Too much time in the sun.
Yeah,
Too much
clearly.
But McDavid, Draisaitl.
I think that's just enough.
And then who?
To beat
And then
Chicago
who?
at this
Okay.
point. But I think that's enough.
McDavid and Draisaitl match up. And right now, I would say McDavid and Draisaitl better.
They're not on the same
than
line, though.
Taves and Kane.
Yeah, that's good. That's good for Edmonton. They were both producing on separate lines.
Exactly. And their power play was pretty good this year too, wasn't it? Felt like.
I mean, with McDavid and Draisaitl, you bet your sweet bippy it will be.
So, but anyway, that's your look. That's your latest update from the world of the National Hockey League. They're coming back. Meanwhile, on the baseball side of things, the MLB Players Association and the owners are flipping each other the bird, saying F
Bump
you,
the MLB.
So it looks like hockey may be the first sport we get back.
I would have thought. I mean, we have a little bit of time here before it actually gets back, but at least we have a plan,
Yeah, the NBA hasn't come out and said anything other than they were starting to let teams in states that can do it open up gyms for just shooting the ball around, whatever.
Yep.
That's all we've heard out of them, and that was 2 weeks ago that they announced that. We haven't heard anything out of them since. But this is a big step in the sports world, and I know the three of us, speak for a large portion of hockey fans here. I think we're all ecstatic, and this is the first chance that we got at having real sports back here in North America. I'm not going to say in the world, but in North America.
Thank Christ.
But anyway, with that said, let's not waste any more time. We're going to throw it to our interview with Pete Mundy, the public address announce voice for Umass Lowell Riverhawk hockey and Merrimack College Warrior football. We'll be back here on Titletown Takes right after this.
All right, Titletown Takes. We are proud to have on the public address announcer for Merrimack College football, the public address announcer for Natick High School football, and the public address announcer for UMass Lowell hockey, Pete Mundy. Pete, thanks for joining us here this afternoon.
Well, thanks for having me. This is going to be fun. It's kind of weird being in a video production, but not in a video production booth like normally we are when we do shows like this.
So I don't know. You want to just kind of talk us through, how things have been going for you? Obviously, with there being no sports, there's no games.
Bored. Very bored.
Yeah, join the club, man.
No, it's been challenging because I do work for the school here in Natick, and we've been out since the 13th of March. And yes, we've been able to go back in every now and then and check out the school and stuff like that. But they're really May 5th, I think that's a hope. What I'm hearing is that may not happen. What does that mean in terms of announcing? Well, we do nothing. We do stuff like this. I'm doing the same thing with my school, going over with, basketball coaches and stuff like that, putting together season-ending things. And it's a strange time. Now, you guys are way too young to remember this, but a lot of people that I've talked to, it's kind of like the blizzard of '78 without the snow. Yeah. When we were done. We were out of business for a whole week. But we didn't have video conferencing. We didn't have cell phones and all that. So it was basically a phone on the wall and hope that Dad, who was still working, wasn't on it because I needed to call my friends, and you walked, basically.
Pete, you want to just kind of take us through, what was your first gig in the announcing role? And, just kind of how you got there and, bring us up to date as far as what you're currently doing.
I started back in 1989 as the hockey announcer at Natick High School, and it goes before that. My stepkids, John Good, as a matter of fact, was a graduate of Merrimack College, graduated in '98, and my stepdaughter, Danielle, were in sports at Natick, and they were looking for people to do play-by-play, video broadcasting, videotaping the games, which you see now they do a lot of all the time. And so it was one of those, I knew all the kids on the teams. This was soccer for Danielle. I knew all the kids. It was like, yeah, all right, we'll try it, see what happens. So we sat on top of a panel truck, and if the wind blew too hard, you sort of had to hang on, and did soccer to start. And then it was like, that's kind of cool. And then got into what got me into the hockey was the year that Natick High School played in what was then the old Boston Garden, which unfortunately does not exist. And the new TD Garden, yeah, that's fine, but it's not as cozy as the old Garden was, because in the old Garden, you had to be careful when you were in the balcony. If you misstepped, you would be down on the ice, and it was literally that steep of an incline. And Natick ended up playing twice in the Garden. They beat Don Bosco the first night, or no, they beat I forget who, Somerville, I think, the first night, and then they played Don Bosco. And Don Bosco back then was a power, and they basically got it handed to them. The next year, the hockey season starts. We're against our arch rival, Framingham. The arena is jammed. I mean, couldn't fit any more people in if you tried. It's loud, it's raucous, and they basically just blew the whistle, dropped the puck, and went. And it was like, where's the fanfare? So I got the courage to call the AD the next day and say, hey, I'd be interested in doing your hockey announcing. And so he said, all right, we'll give it a shot, see what happens. And the rest, as they say, is history.
So for you, Pete, you've been doing this for a long time, but it has to start somewhere, right? So was there a certain moment in your life where you kind of a light bulb went off in your head and you decided, oh, wow, this is actually something I want to do long term?
When I did my first hockey game, it was like, whoa, this is really cool. I mean, it was something that I had aspired to for years. And my grandfather used to always say, oh, there's that guy with the big radio voice, and said, you ought to get into announcing. And, radio is such a challenge. I was in radio for 6 years. I was a traffic guy on WSRS and WTAG out of Worcester and a bunch of other stations as well. But it's a tough business to get into, especially if you're not interested in moving. Nowadays, it's easier because we do exactly this. You sit in your own room, and if you look at some of the studios that some guys have, it's basically a closet with carpeting all around it. And they took the downstairs guest closet and made it into a studio. And so it for me, it was just, I got such a thrill out of it. Hockey's my sport, always has been. I love watching hockey.
You're on the right podcast then.
Yeah. And just love it. And to stand behind a goalie and watch a goalie work is where any sport that has a goalie, with the exception of lacrosse, if I'm there and I'm not announcing, I'm going to be behind the goalie. I learned with lacrosse, no, that's not where you stand.
Smart move.
Yeah, right? And then it kind of went from there. I did, my first year was as the hockey announcer, and then as my kids went into high school, John played basketball, and, so we talked to the basketball coach about, would it be okay to do that? And he said, sure, we'll give it a shot, see what happens. My challenge back then, Natick was back then known for wrestling. And they had a huge, and still do at times, they were off this year a little bit, but always have a tough wrestling program. Coach Anaboli's been there for years. Well, the way our gym was set up was that there was a big gym out front, and then there was a little gym in the back, which basically was a basketball court. That's where he went on Tuesday nights. The problem was, now I'm coming in announcing a basketball game, and all I did was the starters, because I wasn't ready to do all of the three-point basket and all that stuff you hear nowadays. And to be perfectly honest with you, our teams weren't that good at the time. So I was afraid of three-point basket for the other team, three-point basket for the other team, kind of deal. And then what ended up happening was the wrestling would be going on in the back. They would have to stop because I'm out front doing the introductions and national anthem. So Coach Anaboli the next year moved his wrestling to Wednesday for two reasons. One was that it was the only team going, so he hoped to get a whole new, a whole bunch of people there. And he also bought a wrestling light, one of those big round wrestling lights, put it over the middle of the mat, turned all the other lights off in the gym, and with me, hired a DJ to play music. Because remember, this is still 1990. We're not into, iPods and iPads and phones and all that, right? He hired a DJ, and that's when I was like, this is really cool. And that's how it went from there.
So, Pete, we talked about, now you're involved in a numerous number of organizations and work and things like that. Obviously with us being Merrimack students at the moment, soon to be Merrimack grads, scary to think about. How did you kind of come about and find your way up to North Andover, up in the announcer's booth there for football games on Saturday afternoons at Merrimack?
A lot of it was because of my stepson, John Good. He graduated in '98. He had connections and when you become an announcer guy and your name gets out there, people find you and know you. And I actually started down at Stonehill College. I was the football announcer down there for a year. And then through John's connections, through other people in Merrimack, my name got to your SID. And then he called saying, hey, would you be interested? And I was like, this is kind of cool. Let me look at the schedules. But back then, Merrimack and Stonehill were playing each other. Yep. And I forget what that league was, the A10, I think.
Any 10?
Any 10 might have been. Yep. So I look at the schedules and was like, hey, look at this. Every single time that Merrimack was home, Stonehill was away, except for one Friday night. Now, that was the other challenge. High school is Friday night under the lights. It's like, oh, man, look at that. It's a Friday night game. They both have Friday night games. I won't be able to do it. Turned out the Friday night game was playing each other, and that was a Friday night where we were away. So, yes, I was the Stonehill announcer announcing Merrimack versus Stonehill, and the Merrimack people all knew me. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then Stonehill decided to go do their basketball announcer, became their football announcer, and then so that's why I ended up with you guys. And then John worked for the Lowell Spinners. When they were very popular. I mean, I think they still are, but he's been out of it since, so I don't really know. And a bunch of the people now at Umass Lowell are former Spinners. So yes, I'd done a couple of the Spinners games, and then also went up and did, he had the New England Collegiate up in New Hampshire, did a couple of games up there for him. And then when everybody bailed out of Lowell, I actually was doing a playoff game for the MIAA up at Saugus. And it was like, this is really comfortable. I would love coming up here. John Boswell, who used to work at the Spinners, is the SID over at Lowell, or one of the SIDs, and said, well, we might be interested in, if you're interested, we might be interested. And as I said, the rest is history.
So you said, you've been working for Merrimack almost, 20 years now? How long have you been doing the bagpipe bit?
Oh, that's not me. That's somebody else.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I'm not the one.
Let's hear that story.
I'm not the one that plays the bagpipes. That's somebody else that comes in.
No, I know, but you know what the bagpipes mean. How long you been saying that for? That's
We
pretty
started.
iconic. Yeah, right. If you go to a Merrimack game, you know that's coming.
Yep. Back in the it was one of those. What do you do? And as an announcer, guys, in training, you need to find what is you, and what's going to make you you. Obviously, Rene Rancourt, who sings for the Boston Bruins, has his own way of delivering the national anthem. Anybody that's a singer will tell you he's off key when he sings it, but he sings it to his way. No, I didn't want to become like the Bruin guy who says "woo" at the end, even though that is really kind of cool.
Yeah.
You develop your own little thing. And what happened with the bagpipe is like, all right, especially when you guys remember your football field was, on the other side of what is now the parking lot. It was the baseball field. And so you could hear the bagpipe coming for a while. It was like, all right, let's see if we can, get people psyched up when he comes in. And that's when it started. It was just one of those, I did it. And then it was like, ooh, should I have done that? And I said, was that okay? And they said, oh yeah, that's fine. Keep going,
Here we are now.
Yeah, exactly.
It kind of becomes
And it's an interesting story too, because, you as an announcer guy, what you have to remember is if you're getting paid like I do now, I mean, back when I first announced, I was all volunteer. So I did it my own self, and would then ask. And I never know if I'm doing it right. So I always ask, was that okay? Oh, yeah, that was fine. You learn, too, that somebody's paying you, and you want to make sure that they're okay with what you're saying before you say it. And that's one of the biggest things. I actually had the pleasure of interviewing Rene Rancourt, because I do the same thing like you guys do for our local cable company. And he is from Natick, and he and I have done a lot of things together ever since I met him. And I actually interviewed him the year that the marathon bombing occurred, when Boston Bruins played at home. If you remember, when he started singing the national anthem, he stopped and everybody else finished it off. And I remember the article in the Globe the next day said 2 things I learned about the national anthem. Number 1, it's hard to sing anyway. And number 2, it's impossible to sing when you're crying. And that, I was like, I know exactly what he means, because it was like, oh my God, he stopped. So I asked him about it. I said, was this something that was it off the cuff? He said, no. He said, because you have to respect who's paying you. He said, I asked them, would it be okay? And they were fine with it. He said, I wasn't expecting it to start when it did. I was going to do it the last line. He said, I stopped because I had to swallow. He said, and I heard everybody singing, and I knew I couldn't start again. And it was just, that's a moment when you go, wow. Yeah.
Do you have any other Rene Rancourt stories that are interesting?
I actually do. And it's this one.
Oh, wow.
This,
Wow, he was prepared.
Yeah, well, because I wanted to see if I can get the glare off of it. The boy in the picture is a kid who has subsequently passed away, but he was diagnosed with a tumor in his back. And this is from a baseball game. This shows you how important it was, because this was, again, our arch rival. Now, usually this bottom picture is up top, but because it was Rene and because it was Connor, this is what the guys did. And what was amazing about that was we were talking with the baseball coach, and he said, a background to all this is a lot of times when somebody asks, can we do this, whatever, again, they're the ones that are running the show. So I say, hey, what if? And my what if with this was when Coach Hoy said that this is what he wanted to do. He wanted to do a fundraiser for him. I said, what if we got Rene Rancourt to come and sing the national anthem? And he looked at me, he was like, God, that'd be awesome. And I said, all right, what about getting the color guard there, the honor guard? Because his father works for the town and his mother is a police officer there. I said, let's get the color guard. Let's do it right. And behind that picture is the Natick Police Honor Guard, which had firefighters in it. And Rene, so Coach said, yeah, all right, let's try that. So it was funny because the next day I saw Coach. I said, "Okay, Coach, I got Renee. Did you get the the honor guard?" He was like, "You talked to him already?" I said, "Oh yeah," because Renee and I used to work together with the 4th of July parade, and he said he would be honored. So Renee shows up, and what you don't see in that picture is Renee brought his hockey championship ring, and he gave it to Connor before they went out. And Connor was in a wheelchair at that time, and they went out to the mound, and Renee got down on his knee, and the two of them sang into the mic together, and that's when that picture was taken. Needless to say, there wasn't a dry eye in the house after that was done. And then, you utilize that to say, hey, how about a nice hand for, this is what we're here for, please donate, etc. And, that was a no-brainer. So that is one huge memory that I have with all this announcing.
That's a heck of a story, Pete.
Yeah.
Those are the things you like to hear, especially at the high school level. You like to hear of a personal connection between, whether it's the local high school and the community that they're in, or, finding a way to bring in, people that are maybe found in a bigger spotlight, like Renee Rancourt, obviously, who spent decades doing the anthem every night at the Garden.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those things that connects the bigger world with the smaller local communities.
Yep.
You talk about, trying to organize with coaches and be on the same page. Getting back to this story from Boston.com, the last quote, and I love this, the last quote says, "Our coaches tell me that the visiting coaches hate me."
Yes.
They quoted you, and then it goes on to say, "But they also tell me don't change a thing." Obviously, at the high school level, you're going to get a little bit more disparity as far as talent is concerned, as opposed to college, where it's like, okay, you're at a more of an advanced level as far as talent is concerned. How do you, kind of put into words when to kind of pull your foot off the gas as far as, you want to call it, homerism is concerned, and, take your foot off and not be as over the top for some of these games, as opposed to working at the college level or the professional level, where you want to bring your best and your true spirit for the team or whoever you're working for, game after game, play after play?
Usually when we're up by 30. Up by 30, I think that's okay, especially when it's in the fourth quarter, But no, you try and bring in the enthusiasm, all the time. Is it different for me between high school and college? No. It's the same level of enthusiasm. Merrimack, which gets confusing, is Merrimack always wants me to go gain on the play as another Merrimack college, and everybody else answers first down, much like the Patriots do. At the high school, I actually have a call where I yell very loud, very emphatically, first down, Redhawks, which then gets the band to play a little ditty, and everybody starts cheering, and kids have told me that's what they love hearing. Of course, obviously it means we had a first down, but it's just, that's why I say a lot of it you change depending on what is going on. This thing with Connor obviously was a very somber night to start, but oh man, did it go from there, because it was against the arch rival who we beat, who we usually don't beat very often, especially in baseball. And it just, kind of sort of all wrapped around from there. And I'll never forget, after I came down, after the game was done, I saw both parents underneath, and I said, did we do okay? And, Mom especially came up and just gave me a huge bear hug and said, that was awesome. Thank you very much. And we did the same thing for Connor in a hockey game too. They did a shoot the puck in the net for it was goalie one-on-one, that kind of a thing. And I'll never forget that, because Connor was in a wheelchair, and I looked at him, and one of the things too, you kind of remember, this is only it was at the time, he was a fourth grade student. So you got to go down to his level. So I got down to his level, and I said to him, here's the two options. Either A, you can go out the side, or B, you can go through the penalty box. What do you want to do? Dad's standing up behind him going, he's going to go out the side. Connor looks at me and says, I want to go through the penalty box. Okay. So guess what? You're going through the penalty box. Here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do it. Does that work? And he said, yep, that's fine. And he got up out of his wheelchair and literally walked out onto the ice, all the way to the center ice. They had the ceremonial puck drop. And again, same thing, not a dry eye in the house after that was done. And that then prompted okay, make sure you buy a raffle ticket or 2 or 20, or, make a donation, all for Connor. And that was a second unbelievable night.
So there's another quote from that article, which, I mean, you could just tell based off the stories you're telling us now. The quote goes, "Mundy is gifted with pipes worthy for the major leagues, but a heart made for high school sports." Can you talk about that quote just a little bit?
I think it goes back to, whenever, especially on the high school level, it's you're bringing a level of class to a section that, to a level that may not have that level of class. As somebody said, it's whenever I announce, it's like going to a major league game. But you're keeping in mind who your audience is, which is the kids. Of course, now they all have their own playoff, walk-up music and playoff music and all that. And it's you obviously root for the home team hard and more excited than you do for the visiting, which gets to be a challenge when you're like at Songus and I'm doing the hockey playoffs. I've done Division 1A hockey games up there. You got to announce to each team equally, even though this is Songus. It's really the home team. Well, no, that's right. None of these are the home teams. So, you know what I mean? Kind of a deal. And it's always remembering, as I say to them when it comes to like senior night, we do a senior night ceremony where you introduce the senior, they come out with a rose, they take a picture with their family and all of that. And so I organize that ahead of time, having done it enough to say, look, I don't care who you guys think. Guys or girls, either one. I don't care, because all I'm going to do is read the list. And besides, it's not my night, it's yours. So if you want to thank your goldfish, that's fine by me. All I'm going to do is read the name. Now, you guys laugh, but that's exactly what the comment I get back. They start laughing. But I have named dogs, and we have named, and one girl did put a goldfish in, like we were laughing about it after. She says, the goldfish has been with me for 10 years. You know what I mean? And it was just kind of funny. So.
Pete, what would you say, and again, you talk about some of those heartwarming stories at the high school level. What would be your favorite game at any level that you've been behind the mic for?
That's really hard to say because I've done so many of them. I guess probably my most favorite is the first time, again, MIAA playoffs, that I actually walked into the TD Garden and announced the playoff game there. And yes, it was girls, but I didn't care. It was girls playoff. It happened to be with Wellesley as one of the teams, who was, again, our rival on the other side of town. And, so that actually made it easier for me because I knew half of the kids already because we'd already announced their game once. So I kind of knew, okay, when it's a Wellesley penalty, if I'm looking at whoever they were playing, Bridgewater, Raynham, or whoever, it's like, oops, that's not who it was supposed to be. Funny story that goes with that is Wellesley, and I don't, to be honest with you, when it comes to the Garden, I don't care who you give me to. I'll take the girls' games at 11 o'clock in the morning because it's the Garden.
Get you in there.
Exactly. There's only 4 of us that are announcing games in the Garden. You know what I mean? And it was interesting when I first walked in because you kind of walk in and you look up and you go, wow. And you see the spoked B and all of that. And it's like, oh my goodness, this is huge. But then you realize the ice surface is no bigger than, any of them that you're on because it's not an Olympic sheet. So it's not like it's overly big to any of the other places that you go announce it.
Just a location, right? I guess you could say, right? That's
yeah.
That's all.
Well, and like I said, when you look up and you see the spoked B out there and the microphone here has got the Bruins logo on it and,
all the banners above you too.
Oh yeah. And the banners and everything. It was like, oh, that was unbelievable.
So you talked a little bit about your time before, working with the Spinners. What was that like, doing some ball games there and, kind of just take us through your time with the Spinners.
What was interesting about the Spinners, and the same thing with doing the hockey games at Songus for UMass Lowell, is it's a different kind of announcing. And by that, I mean that there is something that is going on all the time. I mean, in the high school level, the inning's over. It's like, okay, play the music until the warm-up pitches are done and then introduce the batter and we're done. But at Lowell and also like at Songus, and you guys do it too, there's some kind of an announcement that's going on in there whenever the puck stops, it seems. You've got the TV timeouts that go with everything, and Lowell takes it to where there's really, it's very rare that I'm not saying something or that there's not something going on. So I find a lot of times, I come home from the Lowell games and I have no idea what the game was like because it's been too busy. Oh shoot! All right, we missed the under 16. Can we fit that in the under 10? What about if we move the under 10 to under 6? And did somebody remember to, and I'm sure you know that too from doing the Merrimack ones, so it's there's a lot of chaos. Now, when it comes to the Lowell games, though, we also had a lot of fun. There's the big, and we had a good group of people that was with us, and that was what makes it so much better because you had somebody that did the sound. Guy over there was the videographer. If you were concerned about whether it was a hit or an error, you had to lean forward and look all the way down into the next box because that's where the official scorer was, who's also a guy who's been up at Merrimack doing the official scoring for football, and so there's a whole bunch of moving parts that are going on, and a lot of it, all I had to worry about was just announcing. But there's wonderful stories that go with that too, just because of what they did on the field. I didn't have to worry about the between inning stuff. That was stuff that other people did. But, Lowell firmly believed in the baseball was secondary to what the family event. And so it changed your announcing a little bit with that, which was really kind of cool. That was a lot of fun. They were fun games.
Obviously, Pete, I have the pinned up here behind me. It's a memorial ribbon for the 2-year anniversary of the Humboldt Broncos crash, which today, April 6th, 2018, 16 individuals, lost their lives just traveling to a hockey game. Has there ever been a tough moment for you behind a microphone as far as trying to handle, a pregame ceremony or maybe a moment of silence that, maybe going into it you didn't think was going to be all that tough, but it kind of, it changed as the event went on?
The moment of silences are always hard, and it's because of why you're doing it. As time has gone on, I've gotten more and more comfortable with doing them because I write it out ahead of time. So all I'm focused on is reading it. But yeah, there have been quite a few where, and the challenge is getting through reading what the moment of silence is about and not getting caught up in the emotion involved with it. And, September 11th obviously was a huge one. We had a situation where at Natick High School, again in hockey, we had a kid who was a senior on the team who passed away during the hockey season. And at that time, I had given up announcing hockey because that was going to put me out 7 nights a week, and I was trying to make a career in radio, working the graveyard shifts. So that was, my body just couldn't function 48 hours in a row. And the challenge with that moment of silence was it was a kid he was a third, fourth liner. He didn't get a lot of playing time, but he never missed a practice. He was just a phenomenal, good kid to be around. And when he passed away, it then became okay, what do we do? When do we get back on the ice and how do we do it? And the announcer at the time was a good friend of mine. I actually emailed him and said, can you do the moment of silence? And he emailed me back. He says, no, I won't be able to. He said, because I not only coached him as a JV kid, but I coached him as a JV kid. He said, there's just no way that I could do it. So I said, all right, I'll come back and do it. And I got about halfway through that. And, you know, the challenge with a moment of silence is how long is a moment? You know, and usually I wait until the last person has become quiet, and then I count to 15. The entire rink was jammed. And it was just, you could, like, another one of those couldn't fit more anybody else in if you tried. The entire place was jammed, and they were quiet before I got halfway through doing the "here's what we're here for." And, you know, it was like, okay, everybody's quiet, and they've been quiet for about a minute. We might as well keep going with this, you know. And so that was a tough one. The other one too was I announced up at the Boston Marathon, and the year after we had the bombing that was in Boston, I work out in Hopkinton. And luckily, I was already home when the first bombs went off. The most anxious time, I think, was getting back up there. I needed to get up there, needed to get back, and, you know, get into Hopkinton and get everybody in front of me so that we could say, "You're not going to interrupt our lives." We did a moment of silence in Hopkinton when we got back the next year. Coordinated it so that it was done not only in Boston, but down at the start line and up where I am. I'm up in Athletes Village behind the schools. Coordinated with our guys on the headsets so that we all read it at the same time. Again, same thing. You wait for 10 seconds. It was quiet. And it was like, what do I do? How do I get out of this? You can't just say thank you. So it just kind of sort of took the David Ortiz thing and said, we are all, we all are and forever will be Boston strong. And as soon as I said that, the whole Athletes Village area just erupted. And, but even then, in that moment of silence, even helicopters stopped flying by, or so it seemed, you know what I mean? So yeah, there's been a lot of those, but there's also been a lot of real happy times, like introducing Ayla Brown at the marathon, the day, literally 2 days after she got voted off of American Idol, that when she was in, she made it to the top 16, I think it was. So there's been upsides and a lot of funs with them too.
Well, we'll finish with this here. Obviously everybody has an ultimate goal in their career. Again, the article says, you get the professional pipes. If you could take one gig at the professional level, if someone walked up to you with your, dream at a professional level as a public address announcer, where would it be?
That's a real good question. For me, it really doesn't matter. Put me in Foxborough, put me in Fenway Park, put me in the Boston Garden, and I'm good. I've been at Boston Garden, but not at the professional level, but yeah, any of those I'm fine with. I'm more than happy to go.
Certainly I can sit here and say that any of those three spots would be just fine with me as someone, looking to get into the announcing role myself. But Pete, we want to thank you for your time. This was really a lot of fun. Pete Mundy, the public address announcer for numerous Natick High School Red Hawk athletic events, the Merrimack College football public address announcer. You can also catch him up at the Songus Center for Umass Lowell hockey. Pete, we want to thank you so much for this, and it was a lot of fun here.
Oh, thank you, guys. It was a lot of fun. It's something that I absolutely love doing. And I think that's the big thing, too. You talk about as an aspiring announcer guy, don't fall out of not having fun. I know that came out kind of weird, but I have fun. And when it doesn't become fun, I think is when it's time to let somebody else do it.
Absolutely. I don't think –
Perfectly said.
I don't think it could have been said any better. I consider myself a fan with a microphone. That's pretty much how I look at it, and I'm hoping for many more years, and who knows, maybe I'll follow in some of your shoes at some of these gigs down the line. But Pete, once again, thank you very much, and we'll be in touch, and all the best moving forward. Big thanks to Pete Mundy. Fellas, that was another good interview we got under our belts there. it was great to talk to him. I know we all have the chance to interact with him in some way or another. Myself being another PA voice, it's great to talk to him, listen to his stories about how he does, the Natick high school games, and he does Merrimack college football games. He does Umass Lowell hockey. So he's a man that's been around. He's done some Super 8 work at the TD Garden. That was cool to hear him talk about that. Takeaways from the interview, fellas?
I mean, just the amount of stories he brings. I mean, but what I love about Pete, and you just get this from knowing the guy too, is he's so rooted. Like, he'll never leave doing Natick football games. You know what I mean? So it's just, he's one of those guys that is just so down to earth. And, I just, if that guy was to get, the biggest PA job ever, I would be so happy, just because he's just one of those guys that you just root for forever. So loved the interview. A lot of cool stuff. It was cool to hear the Renee Rancourt stuff. So it was great to have him on. Wicked, what do you got?
He took the words out of my mouth. It's funny. I asked him about any cool Renee Rancourt stories. It's like he knew the question was coming. He had the newspaper article right on hand.
Yeah, exactly.
And he went right into it. So just an awesome interview all around. It was nice to hear from, I think, one of our favorite people that we've ever worked with and had the privilege of talking to. Yep. I know me and Connor had a great time up in the booth calling for him.
Yes.
For all those
football
tackles and the plays, and
yep.
we had a great time up there. So just awesome to talk to him.
I love his touchdown call. Touchdown Warriors.
And it's a 10 out of 10 energy level every single time.
Then you get the intro. Fans, you know what the bagpipes mean.
Yeah.
And it was cool hearing him tell that story too.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was cool to kind of figure out how it got started, because for me, like I said, as a PA guy, you like to hear the stories about how guys get their little cadences and their
exactly
whatever and stuff like that.
Yep.
For me, for bringing the teams back out on the ice, the Here Come the Warriors. Not saying that I took it directly from him, but it's to hear him. He does it at the start of games down the Lowell when he brings out the team. I do it every period when the teams come back out onto the ice. So it's cool. And Cam does a great job with the music too. He tees me up at the perfect time, and it sets me up.
We're a team in the press box as much as the team on the ice.
Exactly. Yeah. My favorite one to do though is the third period when he turns Streets on.
It's different, man.
It's great. But yeah, again, big thanks to Pete Mundy. It was a lot of fun to talk to him, and we wish him the best moving forward as well. We hope that he's back in the fall at Duane Stadium for Friday night / Saturday afternoon football, and that we can be there with him as well potentially
for more bagpipe playing.
Exactly. But let's move along. We got our 6th edition of Cam's Corner. 6th edition.
Coach's Corner with
Cameron Urbowicz.
Brought to you by Moore's Clothing for Men. Well made, well priced, well dressed.
All right. Thank you very much, Ian. Nice to be back here for a 6th time. You guys could easily not have done this at all. I don't know why you guys keep giving me this time, but I'm going to continue to run with it.
Yeah, it is fun.
6th episode of Cam's Corner. It's kind of jam-packed. A lot of stuff to talk about. A lot's happened in a week. I'm going to start it off with we'll start it off with a little bit of Connor. We're going to start off a little bit of AEW. AEW. So the All Elite Wrestling Double or Nothing event was held for the second year in a row. Last year it was held in MGM. And I had a couple of friends who actually went there, so that was a good time. But not this year. It was held in an empty stadium for the most part. They actually, Connor, it was really cool. They had all the wrestlers that weren't on the show be like the crowd. So they were all up against the guardrail, and they were all talking trash and doing their characters. It was really cool. I enjoyed the show. The back half of the show was better than the front half, but I I consider myself not a big AEW fan. I'm not going to go out of my way and watch the Wednesday night show and stuff like that. But watching the pay-per-view, the matches all weren't like fantastic, but there wasn't a single point in the show where I was bored. The opening ladder match was really good. MJF versus Jungle Boy was good, even though it went a little long. Cody Rhodes versus Lance Archer was cool because Mike Tyson was there. So that was pretty awesome. And then there were Hikishu Shida and Nyla Rose's match was really good. No disqualification, no countout match for the women's title. That match was probably my favorite regular match on the show. That was a lot of fun. John Moxley beat Brody Lee by choking him out, which was cool. And then you get to the main event, which was a Stadium Stampede match. Matt Hardy and the Elite, Adam Page, Kenny Omega, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson beat Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara, Santana, and Ortiz in a match that was actually held in the Jaguar Stadium. So the match started at midfield. The Inner Circle and the Elite had they had stadium entrances. Like, they had the music playing. They had everyone do the intro. It was really cool. There were a ton of gags in that match. I could probably, if I took time to talk about every part of the match, we could be here for the rest of the time. So I'm not going to get into everything. Just if you can go out and find that match and give it a look, don't let the 34-minute time of the match impede you from wanting to see it. The match was actually a lot of fun. And it was the perfect amount of – it was fun. It had a lot of football jokes, and it was wrestling. And that's probably the best you can take from it. So the show was a double thumbs up from Cam Urbowicz. And then we're going to move on to the Coke 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. The race started at around 6 o'clock, but after about 100 laps, it went into a rain delay, which lasted for a couple of hours. It then settled into a race that involved chasing down Alex Bowman. Bowman led the most laps, 164, before he eventually faded away. Then Martin Truex Jr. took over the race before it settled into Brad Keselowski and Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott took the lead from Keselowski and was pulling away pretty convincingly. I remember with about 17 laps to go, I was talking with a couple of friends who were also watching the race, and I said, unless there's a caution, this race is over. With 3 laps to go, Chase Elliott's teammate, William Byron, blows a tire, spins out, brings out the caution. Chase Elliott decides to go to pit road, put 4 tires on it. Unfortunately, it's one of those situations where if you pit, the other guys are going to stay out. If you stay out, the other guy's going to pit. So it was really a no-win situation for Chase Elliott. He falls back to 11th on the final restart. And it'll be Brad Keselowski in the number 2 Miller Lite Ford that wins the race. Originally, it was Jimmy Johnson finishing second. He had a great run, led a couple of laps. He was disqualified after the race ended for a technical violation, so he comes home in last place. Chase Elliott went from 11th to technically second on the last restart. So if he had a couple more laps, he could have potentially ran down Keselowski, but too little too late. In the Cameron Ian Connor standings, Chase Elliott finished second place. So I will take this week. For Ian, Austin Dillon finished 14th, but that's deceiving. He was in the top 10 all race long until that late caution. He was in 9th when the caution came out, and then he got jacked up on the restart, finished 14th. And then for Connor, it was a tough race for him, 26th place for the 42 car of Matt Kenseth. So I take this week.
I think we're all tied now.
I think we're tied because Ian won the previous time.
All I do is win, fellas. That may as well be my freaking theme song.
The next race is Wednesday, the Charlotte 310. Obviously at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It'll be interesting. The last race that was shortened at Darlington was a lot of fun because there's less laps, so there's a lot more. It's a lot more hectic. Guys are more willing to get to the front. At the Coke 600, it's a super long race, longest of them schedule. You have to kind of wait around and bide your time. With that race cut in half, you kind of have to be a little more urgent, as it will. So that'll be pretty interesting. Me and Connor sat down and watched Dortmund versus Bayern Munich today in the Bundesliga. Unfortunately, Dortmund came up a little bit short, 1-0 loss to Bayern Munich. Joshua Kimmich with a beautiful curling. I wouldn't even actually, it wasn't even curling. It was more of a. If you watch
he almost
golf,
chipped him.
It was like a flop shot onto the green. He chipped Roman Berkey, gave him their only goal of the game. But Dortmund had a penalty shout late on, nothing given, and then Bayern's guy was tackled in the Dortmund box and no penalty was given. So I guess it comes back a little even for that. Other scores on Tuesday: Wolfsburg ran out 4-1 winners against Leverkusen on the road. Frankfurt and Freiburg battled to a 3-3 tie. And Bremen and Gladbach went to a 0-0 draw. Something to note about the Bundesliga, which could impact other sports as well. Road teams, or the home teams, have really struggled. Only 3 victories out of 22 matches that the home team won since this whole restart with no fans started. So I had mentioned, Connor, when this had restarted, that maybe someone should keep control of the splits with crowd and no crowd. I think it's pretty obvious right now. I don't even think you need to look at any splits. The road team obviously has that advantage.
Yep. I mean, not shocking.
No, it's not. But I've been upbeat this whole time. But I'd like to end this little Cameron's Corner on a bit of a sad note. I thought about opening with it, but I figured I should end with it. The wrestling world was hit pretty hard this week and a half. So the wrestling fan, we're all family in the wrestling business. Fans and wrestlers. We all hope the best for each other. I hope, and at least that's how I do it. And unfortunately, we had 2 wrestlers pass away this week. Shad Gaspard, he was a member of Crime Time. Connor, if you might know that, he was swimming with his son in California, and Riptide, unfortunately, carried him away from the surf. He was able to save his son before he was killed, which is always a positive thing. And I can happily report that his GoFundMe for his family's reached its $500,000 goal. So a bunch of wrestling fans came together, and Hana Kimura, a Stardom Joshi Japanese wrestler, she killed herself at the age of 22 after receiving a lot of online hate mail from I wouldn't even call them fans. I'd call them cretins and wastes of life. And unfortunately, it was too much for her to take in, and unfortunately, it ended with a tragic ending. Only 22 years old, only 16 days older than me. So I had a really big, reflection over these past couple of days that even though if you're young, stuff can end pretty quickly. And I hope they both rest in peace and rest in paradise, and we'll miss them. But there's your Cameron's Corner.
Unfortunately, you had to end on that bit of a somber note, Cameron. But
yeah, I'd hate to bring it down, but I felt that I needed to address it.
Yeah,
well
absolutely.
put, friend.
Yeah, exactly. Let's move along. This little bit of news here, fellas, that came out on Friday after we recorded our recent episode. University of Alabama Huntsville announced the termination of its hockey program, D1 school in the WCHA. However, last night, the school's president noted that there was a change.org petition had been started and garnered more than 5,000 signatures. And they currently there's a GoFundMe page for the program. And if they can hit that $500,000 mark that they have set up, the president has agreed to bring back the program. So,
I don't think it's going to hit that.
Yeah, I saw that last night. And
it's a lot of dough.
That's a lot of dough by Friday.
Fellas, it started.
We're only a couple hours away from Wednesday.
It started last night it started on Monday. 2.5 hours into it, they already had $39,000.
It's pretty good. 500 G's though.
Yeah,
I want to see if I can find it here. But while I'm doing that, let's discuss about let's discuss the chat the match that happened on Sunday.
Yes, you are struggling today.
I'm big time struggle busting it here, fellas.
So if you are not aware, there was a golf match.
I don't know how you couldn't be.
2 days
Under
ago.
a rock.
It was on
Peyton Manning,
Sunday.
Tiger Woods versus
Phil
Mickelson, Tom Brady, down in Florida ways, and it was a terrible day for golf.
Yeah, driving rain, and then it let up, and then it was raining, kind of hard.
Yeah,
and then it stopped, and then it
poured.
Someone turned on the hose,
and then it kind of opened up again, and freed up by the end of the match. But
it wasn't raining when they presented that nice check.
And Peyton Manning and Tiger Woods were the eventual champions, winning by one hole.
Round.
Tom Brady was brutal. It looked like me out there golfing.
He was brutal in the first first 9.
Yeah,
back 9 he seemed to figure it out a little bit.
Yeah, but yeah,
fellas, I just found it here before we continue moving on. It's been shared 2.6 thousand times. There are 422 donors as of right now. They have raised $125,000.
Whoa, since yesterday?
In one day.
So they're about a fifth of the way there?
Yeah, they gotta.
125.
They gotta get
350. Yeah, about a little over, right? Right, because you divide.
Yeah, a little over.
A little over a fifth. Closer. Actually, no, I wouldn't even say that. I mean, they're about a third of a way there.
So they got to get some big alumni to donate. Like Cam Talbot went there.
He's really their only shot.
Yeah. So they got to ask him, hey, can we get 300 G's to even have a chance?
The GoFundMe page here says UAH Athletic Director Cade Smith announced last Friday the university would be eliminating the UAH hockey program effective immediately. This was a shock to everybody and obviously disappointing for the current student athletes. The hockey community is known for its grit, and the Charger hockey program has been built on that grit and determination for the last 41 years.
Oof.
We have been given an opportunity to show our grit as the university has asked us to raise $1 million by COB this Friday, May 29th. We already have had alumni, booster club members, and lifetime supporters step up with large individual donations and commit to donating annually to make sure the program is self-sustaining for long term. For short term, we are looking to raise $500,000 of the $1 million via this GoFundMe account. If the required funds are raised, UAH has agreed to create an advisory board consisting of hockey alumni, local business leaders, and major donors to help turn UAH hockey into a world-class program. Please help us save the great tradition of UAH Charger hockey program and keep 28 more opportunities for Division I hockey players alive. There's a note down at the bottom that says, if the program is not reinstated, all donations will be fully refunded. We are confident with your generosity, the grid of Charger hockey, that we will not be sending any refunds. Thank you and stay safe. So,
I mean, it's tough because if they get it, I mean, they've already had a couple guys already leave and go to, like Mike McMahon tweeted earlier today that Liam Isick is, I think how you say it, he's going to BC.
Yep.
So, like a guy who was playing at Alabama Helmsville, now he's going to BC. I think he's just going to go back. You know what I mean?
And fellas, the good thing about some of these things are, right, and people are commenting here, and it's like, oh, I'm a Notre Dame grad and a huge college hockey fan. I want to see college hockey be successful in the South, so I hope this helps keep the program. I donated because I'm a huge college hockey fanatic. I don't want to see teams disappear. Good luck.
Yeah.
And then you just got general people here, for more hockey, and it's great. The hockey community is one of the best,
Yeah.
But like I said, in our group text message, I said, if this does end up being final and UAH gets rid of their hockey program, I can say that I got to see UAH play in their final season.
That's kind of a cool little stat there. That's one of a Cameron stat.
Mm-hmm.
I saw this guy score his last goal as a Bruin when I went. I saw Tom Brady's last win in the AFC East. That's right in the Cameron board of stats there.
So, fellas, I'd hate to jump off topic real fast, but it'll just be really fast. The match ratings are in.
Really?
Oh yeah, we can get back to the golf. Go ahead. I just wanted to bring up the GoFundMe
5.8
thing.
million viewers across the 4 networks that aired it.
It was
Wow.
Go ahead.
It peaked at 6.3 million from 5:45 to 6 p.m.
That's right. Probably right about when they were turning to the back nine.
Yeah. That was.
And it was the best. It was the highest rated show, and then it was higher rated than last year's PGA Tournament final round and the British Open's final round.
Whew.
So I heard today on Felger and Maz that it was the highest ratings a golf program has ever received.
Really?
Ever.
That's interesting. Even more than Tiger winning the Masters.
Which is weird because
more than any
6 million doesn't
Masters,
sound
more
like a
than
lot.
any Open, more than any U.S. Open,
Wow.
anything. It was the highest rated golf program ever.
On record.
You just got to bring 2 of the best NFL quarterbacks in, and then that's your sell, right? The 2 best golfers almost of all time, right? I mean, Tiger's the best golfer of all time, I would say. But Phil is questionable.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of the same thing. Tom's the no doubt GOAT, and then Peyton's questionable for 2 or 3.
I liked it, right? Because you get guys like Phil and you get Tiger, and then you get Peyton, who Peyton played pretty well.
Yeah.
But then there was Tom.
Yeah, there was Tom.
Oh man, our golf games kind of relate a lot to how Tom.
A lot more like Tom than any of the others. I'll tell you that.
What was Tom's score before it, Connor? 100, and you were 107.
They said like either it was one of his matches beforehand or something. He shot a 106.
Yeah.
And I shot a 107 in me and Ian's golf match like a couple of weeks ago.
And
so
I shot 100.
You shot 100. So Ian shot better than Tom Brady, and we can see why.
Yeah, it was just fun. He was playing Army golf, left, right, you know.
Couldn't get down the middle.
And then he sinks the eagle from 110 out on.
Which was unbelievable.
On 8, what was it, 8? I think it was.
Yeah.
He freaking.
But then he sent it to in the trees. The next one. It's like that's so relatable to me. It's like you're so high in golf when you have a good shot, right? And then you're like, all right, yeah, this one. It's going to start here. Tee box, boom. Oh, God.
Clearly he needed Charles Barkley crapping on him more because right before that, Barkley was like, oh, Tom, you suck. I'm better than you. And then just made the eagle. Like,
yeah. Suck on that one, Barkley.
And then what's his name had to donate $100,000.
Brooks Koepka.
Yeah. Koepka did, yeah. So
go Knowles.
The whole thing raised about $22 million, so good on him.
That's a lot of dough.
Yeah. But overall, fellas, how do you feel about the production of it? I mean, obviously it was different.
Awful.
I liked the cameras and the golf carts. That was
that was
different.
Cool. Yeah, I thought
I liked the ability to mic 'em or put a earpiece in and microphone them up so you could hear
when they
them.
worked.
Unfortunately, with the rain and the weather that they had down there, it wasn't the best situation for it. But I mean, I thought it was okay. I would have liked to see a little bit more interaction, maybe a little more shit talking between the 4 of them.
I thought the non-important shots were great, but when it actually came to hitting the ball off the box and then tracking the ball through the air, it's like there were certain points where he'd hit the ball and like the camera wouldn't even move. It's like where's it going to land?
Because it was so far out of sight. Nobody had.
I know, but at least make an attempt.
Yeah.
I wasn't complaining. It was live sports.
I guess you'd rather be safe and sorry in that situation, right? You'd rather keep the steady shot of the guys in the tee box trying to find the ball down the fairway or off in the trees, whatever, rather than flipping to 3 different cameras and, panning up left, trying to find it, panning right, looking down in the sand or whatever. I didn't have anything against that.
To that note, I think they got better at all that as the match went on. I mean, think of it. Like athletes, none of these guys have been producing sports or anything in months, too. So probably a little rust on their part, too. Having that background kind of information of, it doesn't just happen. You got these guys in the truck and guys producing the shows behind the scenes. So I'm sure they like being in the flow of things just as much as the actual athletes do.
What were your thoughts about Peyton Manning? I thought he was pretty funny.
I think he was the best one.
He was good. You know,
most entertaining. I think having Charles Barkley there was great. I think he was good, kind of reaming into the guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pate was on a roll. I mean, from start to finish, he was consistently. It was help he was winning, right? You know, that could have been Brady if Brady was hitting him well.
Yeah.
But you know, it's easy when you have Tiger Woods in your team too.
My favorite part is when I just had it on my. Oh yeah, I got it. It's when they were doing the longest shot challenge between Tiger and Phil, and Phil was like, "This is for you, company," and then he put it in the out of the damn country club.
Yep.
So that was pretty funny.
All right, fellas, let's move along and wrap this sucker up. What do you say?
Sounds great to me.
All right, ready to roll.
All right, Connor.
It's time. It's time for the bag of fun. Bag of fun. Everybody ready for the bag of fun? Question of the quarantine. Mr. Beauchesne, you got it today, boy.
All right. We talked about it at the start of our program today. The NHL's moving forward to coming back. We looked at our playoff qualifying round matchups. Fellas, what is your Stanley Cup final? We can all do our fan pick. We can all automatically input the Bruins in that side. But then what is a logical Stanley Cup final that you have as well? Wickers, right on the spot, fella. What do you got?
Fan pick. Boston, because, yeah. And I have a buddy who's a Dallas fan, so let's do Boston versus Dallas in the final. I think that'd be a lot. We should have we probably should have got that last year if Jamie Benn could, hit the empty net on the wraparound there. But Boston and Dallas, I'm going with that.
All right, Connor, your fan pick?
Fan pick. So obviously Bruins, right? That's the East. I'm torn though between two teams that I like a lot. Just which one of them's shocking. I was actually talking with you earlier, Cameron. I like a lot of the players on the Vancouver Canucks. So I think it'd be cool to see them. I really don't see them making it. But the other one is more realistic, Colorado. Bruins Colorado is my fan pick. That's like the lock it in.
All right. My fan pick, going to rematch, Bruins Blues from last year.
Okay.
I'm going with a rematch fan pick. And then I'll just take the realistic pick. Connor, you already hit it. Bruins Avalanche.
That's your realistic pick.
That's my realistic pick.
Okay.
Bruins Avalanche. That Colorado team is stacked. And I really, really like their chances of getting out of the West this year.
Okay. See, that's funny because I was thinking my realistic pick was going to be a rematch.
That's weird.
But so the East is very good. I've been looking at teams. Philly's good, man. Philly's good.
Philly's streaky.
Tampa's good.
Tampa?
But the West is a crapshoot. Like, I could see Colorado. I could see Dallas, Cam. Like, Dallas, I think, has a strong possibility of getting there.
I could see Vegas. I could see Vegas
could squeak in
the Cup final.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a crapshoot, and these are all teams that nobody can tell. Nobody knows how these teams are going to play. But I'm going to go Bruins Blues because a lot of me wants to see that again. But if the Bruins lose again, I may just retire.
Jump off the Zakem Bridge.
Yeah, just won't be worth it at that point. But yeah, I'll go for the funny perspective. Bruins Blues rematch. Wickes.
I don't know.
Oh, I am really interested to hear this one.
I wonder what he's gonna say.
He's not picking the Bruins.
I wonder what
I'm thinking about not picking the Bruins.
He's gonna take Tampa or Washington.
Well, Tampa's a bad matchup.
I'm going with the Avs.
Okay.
He takes the easy way out of it and names the
In
Western
the West,
Conference
yeah.
team first.
Make a decision,
Avs
Wickies. Get it out of the
and
way.
The
5, 4, 3, 2,
Lightning.
1 pick. Oh,
Lightning? Get out of here, dude.
Actually, no, Avs and Cap. I'll go Avs Caps.
Okay, that I could see a little bit more.
all right. That's
Because you know me, I
course.
still don't think the Bruins are very good.
Even your boy Charlie Coyle.
100 points be damned. I'm still not convinced.
How?
So what, you think it was a fluke that they got to 100 points?
How are they not that good?
I don't know. It's just
Hold on. Let's look at the standings here. 44, 14, and 12.
I know what the numbers are.
Let's say if they cut, we know that
All those OTLs, man, they scare me.
exactly. You cut half of those out of there, and you're looking at 106 points.
Yeah,
and
but the
and
thing
you're
is,
14
you
points ahead of Tampa.
don't cut half of them out of there. They're there.
Okay, but at the same time, you've also had 2
The
months
Bruins
off.
have proved all season that they can't get it done in overtime. And I don't care that 3-on-3 is different than 5-on-5. They can't do it.
Here's
I'm
my
sorry.
take, boys.
Oh, I can't wait for the Bruins to get to the Cup final just so we can have suck it Cam all. freaking
Sure,
summer.
I'd love to be wrong.
Here's
Every
my
time,
take.
hold on. I want to instate this now. When the playoffs start, every win that the Bruins pick up in the playoffs, we open the episode with Charlie Coyle saying, "Suck it, Cam."
You don't got to twist my arm for that. But yeah, my take is to go off what you were saying, Cameron, is yes, I do agree with you. The overtime losses are very bad. But
Also, Connor, you also have to remember a good amount of those OTLs were because they could not hold the lead late.
Yeah, I agree with you. And there is a part of me that is concerned about this Bruins team. I don't know how good – and this is the thing is since it got cut off, we don't know how good Kasha and Richie are going to be. You know what I mean? Like that's such a big part of this team. Is like Johansson and Coyle came in last year, and you had 4 good lines in the playoffs. So you don't know if you're going to be able to run. I don't agree with – I mean, if Anders Bjork he'll be healthy, but like how good are the bottom 6 going to be? I think the Bruins are slightly worse than they were last year. I think they'll still get to the Cup final. But to go off the overtime loss thing, Cam, I don't know if you could even – you can't use really anything other than seeding. You can't – like that's the only arguments we have, right, is just based on how they played last. But you can't like realistically, you can't even use those at this point because it's, like I said earlier in the show, completely brand new season. It's like new teams, basically, in my mind. It's literally you're going to have to wait once those first rounds, like the seeding round for the top 4 and the qualifying round are over. That's when you'll have a better idea on who's going to win the Cup. I have no clue right now. This is just me thinking based off what we saw last. It's a crapshoot right now. You have no idea what you're going to see in a month or two. Really have no idea.
Fair enough. Well, with all that said, that'll pretty much do it here for us today. We hope everybody enjoyed another fabulous episode. Again, big thanks to Pete Mundy joining us here today for our interview in this one. Stay tuned. Nick Barisi, the head coach of the Merrimack College men's baseball team, will be joining us on Sunday's episode. Looking forward to that conversation as well. But yeah, fellas, any final words before we get on out of here?
Ian, I've been waiting a while to say this, but since we almost officially, I mean, not officially because anything can happen, but we're pretty sure we got playoff hockey coming back. It's only 3 things I know in life. 1, liquor before beer, you're in the clear. 2, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. And 3, effing pucks on net. Go Bees, baby. Woo!
Yeah. Wickers, any final thoughts?
Crap on it, Cam is back.
The Bruins is the single, like the first moment the Bruins could potentially be back. He's crapping on them already.
Love it.
Because, well, Connor, I was positive and a friggin' pandemic hit. So
Yeah,
clearly,
I
that
get
might
you.
be a sign.
I feel you. I get you. So yeah,
Let's
go Bees.
All right. Well, glad to know Crap on It Cam's back. Connor's living by his 3 rules of life. Yeah. Again,
We're getting back
thanks
to normal
Pete.
somewhat.
Yeah. Again, thanks to Pete. We'll talk to Nick on Sunday. Everybody have a fabulous rest of the week. Stay safe. Weather's supposed to be nice out. Get outside, social distance properly.
Wear your mask.
put those ACs in.
Yeah. But anyways, we'll talk to you guys on Sunday. For Connor Powell, Cameron Urbowicz, my name's Ian Beauchesne. Lights out. Good night.